there, and welcome back to 4 Times in a Podcast, your second episode of the week from us. It is a full complement tonight. I know you enjoyed Danny and Tony's duo show the other night, although some people are worried about their well-being after the sort of tone of it, but full complement back to preview Celtic's big test at Pittodrie this weekend as they look to maintain a 100% start to the season. So it's myself, Darren, delighted to be joined by Tony, Andy and Danny. So Tony, I'll come to you. As I say, people are reaching out, they felt you were a bit down in the dumps on that episode the other day. A few days have passed, there's still no signings come in, nothing seems to be improving on that front, but have you sort of alluded to in Tuesday's episode that you were a bit pessimistic about this trip? How are you feeling later in the week?
Well, I'm currently in a padded cell in a straitjacket, and the doctor's holding my microphone for me so I can record. I was advised, I think you sent me a tweet that says that I should seek help for the doctor because of how depressed I was. And I think we're going to drop points on Sunday. I know it's a terrible way to start a fucking podcast when you're 2 points clear, and it just shouldn't be this way. I don't understand what we're doing. It can't just be us. I don't think it is. I've seen other kind of podcasts kind of writing articles saying they think we're maybe saving cash to get sold, which I would all be for that. I would be all for getting rid of Dermot Desmond. That would do me. None of this better the devil you know shite. Get the devil out and we'll take it for there. I don't understand it. None of it makes any real sense to me why you would be weakening Celtic and weakening the squad that Brendan has been. He's been good for us since he came back. First year he got there in the end. Second year was really good, and then there was some poor spells. But he's telling you he's here for the third season. Whether he's here after that, I don't really care. You still need to sign good players. Just because I know the kind of excuse is we sign a player that might not fit the next manager's system. It's not really how it works, you know. You can't just go, oh, well, we're not signing anybody and we'll just see if Brendan can drag us over the line, because I don't think he's going to be able to with the squad we've got. He's been telling you for months he needs wingers, and we don't seem to be doing it. I just think we're setting ourselves up for such a fall, and I can't just lie and say, keep the faith. If I start saying that, that's when you should get somebody to lock me up in a paddy cell. That's when you know I've fucking totally lost the plot. I can't just kid myself on. You can only go by what you're seeing, and it does feel a wee bit. I don't think it feels like the COVID season, because the COVID season at this point we were excited because we thought the signings were good, but it just feels a bit ominous. And I don't understand it. You know that other teams are in you. So obviously the Huns have got a boost, Hearts have improved, Hibs are in the middle of getting a great European result as we're talking. But why would you weaken yourself? It just it's very strange to me. It doesn't make any sense. Is it just a case that guys like Michael Nicholson just aren't very good at their jobs, potentially? It's just madness. I don't understand it, and I can't listen to the odd wait to the end of the window. We could be in major trouble by the end of the window. I mean, as it stands, we need to go to Kazakhstan before Ibrox. I mean, you want a strong squad for those two ties. So I get some people that don't like it, and who does? Who wants to listen to doom and the gloom predictions? For all I know, we could go up to Pittodrie and win 5-0, and I'm wrong, which I hope I am, but I just don't see it. I mean, who's the lineup? You're going to have to start Forrest, Ida, and Maida, and it's the same midfield that's didn't really work against St Mirren. Don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy with the defence. I actually, if it's going to be Pusey, Vickers, Johnson, Tierney, you know, and Casper, I'm actually quite content with the defence. But I just think, but we're known for attacking play and scoring goals, and we're just so weak up front. We don't have Kuhn, we don't have Jota, we don't have Kyogo. I mean, I don't know how many goals that is you've lost in the space of a couple of months. Obviously, Jota came back, but in terms of if you have they three for a full season, you're probably looking about 40, 50 goals. So to have lost they three, one to injury, one to Como, one to Ren, and no one replaced them, it makes absolutely no sense. So to be fair, there was some people, I seen a YouTube comment that was agreeing with me, so I was happy to see that. But I would like to think most fans are concerned that we're at the 7th of August and we haven't signed a winger. It's just, it is incredible. And they seem to say every year, oh, hoarding cash is bad and shouldn't have this much cash, and then they just continue to hoard it and take more money out of us. I think 25 quid came out my account today for the Falkirk game. I mean, me and Darry spoke about it, but surely he could have gave that to the punters for nothing a fucking Friday night, show a bit of goodwill. But I think it really is a case like the people operating at the high level at Celtic, they want our money, irrespective. They don't care what we think, they don't care what we say, they want our money. The only time they would ever actually act in our interest is if we pull the rug from under them and stop giving them money. And we're nowhere near ever getting to that stage. Like, even when things have been really bad, fans have been so hesitant to kind of fight back. Like, even I know I'm away in a fucking rant here, but I remember the end of the COVID season. You could ask for the start of the COVID season, the season before, where you lost out in quite a lot of games. You could ask for a refund, and I don't think many fans did. But then it became apparent that you could actually still ask for it. And a lot of people asked for it in January 2021 because they wouldn't sack Lennon. And I remember putting in for it. I didn't ever want the money. I just wanted to stick it to them. And I think 3 weeks later they sacked Lennon. So even then I remember people were dead hesitant about taking their own money back for the club. So look, I'd love to say something positive to kind of G people up. I mean, as I says, I'm happy with the defence, but I have a bad feeling. I think come May, we're going to have egg in our face, and I'll not be going about going, oh, I told you so, because that's pointless. You don't get anything for that. I take no pleasure if this goes the way it's looking. But bizarre. You've got all that money. If you get into the Champions League, you've got a relatively easy tie by, I think, everybody's expectations, and you decide, nah, not going to get them in quick to get them bedded in, get them used to the system, get them comfortable. We're going to just fuck about and get laughed at. It's just, and as I say, it's so incompetent, it's frightening, to be totally honest. But I think the worst part is it's no surprising. There's no part of me going, oh my God, I can't believe that Michael Nicholson's actually useless. I mean, that's not in my thoughts.
No, I'd agree, and just on your stat, I actually seen on Twitter the day, I know you're not on there now, but I think it was Boys Use, who I know splits opinion, but he actually stated that between Kyogo, Jota and Kuhn, they contributed 99 appearances, 39 goals and 22 assists last season, so it's a quarter of their goals are directly missing from our team this season. Obviously I know Jota's not been sold, of course, but we've knew since that Dundee United game where we won the league that he was going to be out for a foreseeable time, and the other two just haven't been replaced. And for me, I'm now at the point where I'm extremely angry that we allowed Nicholas Kuhn to leave so quick without having a direct replacement in. Like, even as far as the manager, he'll come out and say, oh, I'll be happy as long as the business is done by the end of the window and how good players become available. Why did we not just put our foot down and tell Nicholas Kuhn that he had to stay until we either had a direct replacement or that he'd played his part in a qualifier for us? And I think the basic answer is that we're ran like we've said it often enough on here, we're ran more like a bowling club than a football club, and I don't think we've got any sort of long-term vision for the club. I think that the board and the PLC seen an offer of £15 million or whatever it was for Nicholas Kuhn, come in and panicked and says, oh, we need to take that right now, and now we're relying on guys like Yang and keeping guys like Marco Tilio, who just players that just clearly don't have a long-term future at Celtic, aren't good enough. May well played a part this season, but purely by lack of signings we've made and lack of squad depth. But Andy, I'll come at you. You're actually going up to Pittodrie on Sunday, so I'm sure you'll be looking forward to it. Last season, as much as we lost the cup final to them, we did have 2 wins at Pittodrie. Quite opposite ends of the scale though. We had that one towards the end of the season where we won 5-1 with a vastly rotated team, and then we also had the one in December last year where we won 1-0 with a late goal from your hero Real Hatate. So how are you feeling in preparation for this one?
Aye, funny you mentioned that 5-1 game. From memory, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure we started with Yang, Forrest and was it Johnny Kenny? So I mean, I don't know, maybe it's the perfect team to be playing in this scenario where our front line's a bit of a fucking mess, but I don't want to cover all ground and sort of repeat the last episode of his own again, but I think there's a lot of truth in what Tony says, and he's just reiterating what the majority of fans that I know and speak to think. The fact that we're at this point of the season still so underprepared, and I've always said that every single window you should be coming out of it or aiming to come out of it stronger than you go into it, and we just don't appear to have that outlook, which I find totally fucking bonkers. And even the whole wait to the end of the window, like, damage could be seriously done to the season by that point, which is just unforgivable. Even with the whole, obviously, it looks as if we're going to be got to Kazakhstan for that game, and people say, nah, we'll put them out, we'll beat them. Like, we've seen stranger things happen. We've seen Celtic make an arse of games in Europe that they should be winning before, so I don't, that idea just doesn't sit right with me at all. And the Marco Tilio situation's fucking nuts. A guy who was out on loan, let's be honest, has no future at Celtic, has no business being here, and they hurt me him. Teams are wanting to take him, and we've got him saying, no, you can't leave because we need wingers, and then we've got him fucking sitting in the stand. That's just mismanagement from top to bottom. It's obviously a statement for Rodgers as well, that he doesn't deem him good enough to be even on the bench when we're desperate at this stage, but that's not good enough, and there should be people who have to answer for that, but it appears that we've got CEOs and people running the football club who don't have to answer to anybody, and there's no repercussions for them. But aye, the game itself, we should absolutely be good enough to beat them, but football doesn't work like that. Like, the players won't be immune to what Rodgers is saying and everything that's going on as well. They'll be aware of that. And look, even Forrest and stuff himself, like, he's no daft. He knows he's not the player that he was. He knows that he probably shouldn't be in this position as much as he'll try his hardest. Like, you're not going to get him for 90 minutes either, so even if he has played really, really well, like, you're not going to get him for 90 minutes, and then who do you turn to at that stage? But aye, it's worrying, Darren, and I think we always talk about momentum and starting really well and everything else, and you just risk end up leaving yourself fighting an uphill battle if you go and make an arse of these games. And it's all about preparation, and that's just something that we're not appearing to do, and I can't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why. I've got no explanation as to why we're the only team in the world that appears to be unable to sign players unless apparently it's the fucking last day of the window. It's literally just shopping about for a sale at this point, which when we can all see obviously the bank statements, when the accounts came out, when we can all see how much money's getting fucking fired into the club, when we can see what players are being sold for, and then when we can see clubs and boardrooms laughing at us for the offers that we put in for the players, like, that just shouldn't wash. Fans shouldn't be made to accept it. And like Tony's right, they've got the cheek to turn and just whip 25 quid at everybody's account. Like, you wouldn't be bored with it. Nobody would bat an eyelid to that if you felt that the club were reinvesting it, if you felt that they weren't just taking the absolute cunt out of everybody and anybody. 3 taps a year for how many seasons now? Costing fortunes, fucking everything, mugs, DVDs, the whole lot. Anything that they can fleece an arse quid out you for, they'll do it. But it just doesn't seem to get reinvested, which is bonkers. I can't understand it. And like, when you've got Rodgers coming out with statements like that, and we were talking about it the other day in the chat, and he's saying how it's down to him to convince the board that he needs them and all the rest of it, and it just echoed exactly what Ange was saying before. I can't remember who it was that posted, but somebody posted it on Twitter. And that's what we were talking about, and it was almost word for word the same thing, talking about it's their job to convince the board that that's what we need and all the rest of it. And look, these are guys that are supposed to be running a football club. They're supposed to be football men and want the best for the team, and that's clearly not the case. When it's not just one manager that's reserved to at this point, it's multiple. And you say what you want about Rodgers, but the guy's been successful, and he's had one of the most successful seasons in Europe last season. And he can't get back, and he can't get buy-in for the board to say, right, what do you need? What do you need to improve this team? Where do you need it? Selling some of his best players and not replacing them, but like Kyogo and Kuhn and everything else. What's the point at that stage? Look, you might as well just pack it in and just run a lottery for the league at that stage. Because, as I say, if Rodgers can't get back, and who can? But I don't know what I make of the game, to be honest. I'm a bit like Tony. Part of me is fearing the worst, because if we don't improve, then we will start dropping silly points, and we will turn into some poor performances. Particularly because when you start at 11, sometimes it might not work, but if you've got good options in the bench, you can change that. We're struggling to have that at the moment, so we don't really have many other options if Plan A doesn't work. So, I hope we go up in it, and obviously I don't rate Aberdeen that highly at the moment. I think they're a bit further away in preparation than they want to be. I watched them the other night and they were pretty poor, but I'm glad it's no Easter Road or Tynecastle that we're going to be honest.
And Danny, I'll bring you in. You were actually at Tynecastle doing a scouting mission for us on Monday night. What did you make of Aberdeen, and would you expect any sort of, it seems laughable even asking this, but would you expect any sort of late deals from Celtic this week to maybe bring into the squad on Sunday? I know I'm asking this because it's actually 9 years to the day, the 7th of August 2016, when the Talisman made his fantastic debut at Tynecastle. And do you think we can replicate that, or do you think it will be similar to that day where we relied on James Forrest for the first goal that day? Do you think it's more likely that it'll be Forrest we're relying on than a new signing?
No, it'll be a new signing. That's just silly talking. That's Celtic just don't do that. It's been actually, me and Tony covered a lot of this the other night, but it looks like it's deliberate. This is the same thing happens every single year, and they always get away with it because I still think they'll get away with it because I think they'll end up signing 3 or 4 players before the end of the window. Still got 3 weeks, right? I said it the other night. You don't need to take the whole fucking window. It's probably beneficial to get your deals done earlier. But here they go again, looking about, bargain hunting towards the end of the window to see what teams get desperate and try and sell players at a cut price because they're trying to trim their squads and whatever. They'll probably keep doing that. Makes no sense, but they'll probably try and do that again. They'll probably get away with it because the manager's really good and the team, most of the team there are really good and they're all winners and they've all done it before. So probably do it again. But you just need to ask yourself why every summer we go through the exact same process. And no under just Rodgers, it's happened under Ange as well. I know Ange signed an awful lot of players in his first season, but in his second season it was pretty, after he'd already proven that he was a winner, we didn't sign too many players that window. I can't remember. Pretty sure Jens was a loan and there were a couple of others, but Haksabanovic was done later on. And that's us going straight into the Champions League. You're talking, that's not even a qualifier. So now we've got a qualifier and you're underprepared. You've turned this game into a coin flip. Even, the whole travelling to Kazakhstan doesn't bother me. It's going to be a Tuesday. Still got 4 days to worry about Ibrox. To me, it's not really a problem. But you've turned the tie into a bit of a coin flip where, and things happen when the club isn't pulling in the same direction. These are the sorts of things that happen, bumps in the road, accidents that are waiting to happen at Celtic. We've seen it over the years. You see a game, Ferencváros under Lennon was the prime example. You see a game that looks like a fucking banana skin, tends to be a banana skin for Celtic, but it just brings me down when you think it can't be that hard. Every other team in the world seems, they're Man United are out with a begging bowl. Now I know you can't compare Man United to Celtic, right? But they've been out with a begging bowl all year, and yet they're about to spend $200 million on free attackers in the window. And this is a team that apparently get no money, where you've got a team that have got money and they're going out and even that boy that they were linked to the day, it's like, the Celtic have been told it's $6 million, so they've offered 3.5. And you think, teams must just, when the fucking phone goes and it says Celtic Football Club, teams must just piss themselves laughing, get everybody into the office and say, wait to hear this one. Or when they get an email from Celtic that says official bid or whatever, they must forward it around these fucking offices and just sit and laugh. Who would want to deal with Celtic, who, in good faith? And then, who's going to come, we've never really seen a problem with selling players, but what's going to happen when, what if Como would have came and said, by the way, we'll give you $4 million for Kuhn? What would Celtic's response would have been? Fucking might have done a deal with him. So now they've punted Kuhn. They can sell him, but they can't sell Tilio. Fucking depressing. This is me thinking it's going to be alright. I think they'll pull it out of the bag, it'll be alright. I know Tony doesn't share the same optimism, but you just ask, we do this every summer. So the problem's obviously internal, whether it's the board, whether it's who's sanctioning deals, whether it's the recruitment team. Something fundamentally has to change because we're going through this push every summer, and this one seems to be a wee bit more serious because the manager's out of contract in the summer. It doesn't look like he's going to stay, and the club's at a bit of a crossroads because we had a great year in the Champions League last year. Should have, you're a goalkeeper taking a cross away for winning a treble. The club's in relatively healthy shape, very good shape financially, so why not capitalise on it and kick on? But they've always had a problem with that. But the real thing that you brought me in for was Aberdeen. I went to see them the other night. Decent enough team, kept the ball very well at times, had nothing up front. Boy outright, Milanovic, he's a good player. I'd expect him to cause some problems if he's left on the ball. And Aberdeen were trying to force the big boy up front. Yengi, he was brutal. Missed an absolute sitter. So probably expect him to turn that on at the weekend, to be fair. But I thought Aberdeen were alright. I don't think Aberdeen will have many problems finishing top 6 this year, but we really should be beating them.
I am. On the game itself, I'm probably on the Mercam side. I think Aberdeen are pretty poor. And I've been talking to you about it in the group chat this week. I think they might actually struggle for top 6, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're even lower than 7th or 8th. I think that I'll say to the listeners what I says to you is I think they carried a lot of momentum last season, the first sort of third day, and then fell away on a horrible run. And they won the Scottish Cup, of course, you've got to give them credit for that, but I think they played like Dunfermline and Queen's Park and then beat 9 men Hearts in the semi-final. And then, as you said, Danny, if it's not for Schmeichel palming across into his own net, then although we played so poor that day, we probably would have seen the game out. But I just think I watched the game on Monday, didn't see too much from him. I know they missed that sitter, but I just thought Hearts sort of dealt with him quite comfortably, and as Andy sort of mentioned earlier, it's probably going to be a pretty similar front line apart from Adamida in terms of having the likes of Yang and Forrest and available. I know Luke McCowan played well that night as well, when he was surprised if he's brought in after his goal on Sunday, but I'm relatively comfortable about it. Off the pitch, I think the club's an absolute bin file now. I know there's been a lot of talk about just the overall state of the club and not just transfers, like even the way the stadium's looking. I know the Jock Stein stand, the banners have been down for quite a while and they weren't even sorted for Flag Day. It just does feel like everything's sort of part-time and tin pot sections of a club at the moment, and nobody seems to know why. We've spoke about it as well, how there's not been any sort of nod from the club towards the great displays for the 2 Lisbon Lions that recently passed. Like, that would have been nice to maybe look to bridge a gap between the supporters and the people that run the club at the moment. And then I just don't know what's going on, but I'm sure we'll come on it in weeks to come as the sort of window does pan out. But it does feel like we're sort of walking on eggshells, and it feels like almost when we're going to hit a bump in the road and not if. It feels sort of like it will come. I don't think it'll come this weekend. I'm pretty confident that we'll get by Aberdeen relatively comfortably. I would be making a few changes. I'll go through my team first and then bring yous in. I'd throw Simpson Pusey in. I know he's probably not played as much pre-season as the other players, but if he's been brought in to play, then you want to get some minutes in him before that Champions League qualifier. You've obviously got that game and then the Falkirk game next Friday, so if you can even get a game, maybe a game and a half in him, then just sort of starts the sort of beginnings of hopefully a successful partnership with him and CCV. As I said, I'd maybe be looking to bring Luke McCowan in. Don't know who that'd be at the expense of. Possibly, I'd say possibly Nygren, but then I wouldn't even mind if they put McCowan in the midfield and then moved Nygren out wide instead of Yang. I know Nygren, when he was signed, was sort of touted as somebody who could play anywhere across the front, so I wouldn't mind seeing how he done out there. And then I think he does not impress in many people, but I think you still have to go with him up top at the moment. And then even Maeda, I think as much as we won the game, there was 2 glaring chances for Maeda last week that he should have put away. The one in the first half when he rounded the keeper, I know he tries to find Yang, but I think he just has to go for goal himself on that occasion. And then the one right at the end, he gets put through and he should at the very least work the keeper, but the defender gets back well, to be fair to him. But I think Maeda should have probably made sure that there was no chance the defender was even going to get close to that, but hopefully he gets on the score sheet as well and sort of kickstarts his season with a goal. And Tony, I'll bring you in. As I've said, I'd probably be looking to bring McCowan and Pusey in at the expense of Liam Scales and possibly Yang. Who would you be looking to make changes to, if any? And I'll take your prediction as well.
Yeah, for me, Pusey goes right in for Scales. The midfield, I'd probably drop Negren out for McCowan. I just wasn't really impressed with him. I thought his corners were atrocious and he didn't really offer anything, to be honest. I think Yang drops out for Forrest, so it'll probably be Schmeichel, Tierney, Pusey, Vickers, Johnson, McGregor, Hattati, McCowan, Maeda, Ida, Forrest. I think that would be the team. I think we'll take the lead through Adam Ida and then get pegged back by a cross we can't defend. And that'll be all she wrote. I think it'll be 1 each. If we win, then I'm just going to keep predicting 1 each every week, just see if it keeps going. But I apologise, just so everybody knows, I don't actually need a doctor. I'm in reasonably good health as far as I know, so I know it's negative, I know it might be depressing to some people, but it's just my thoughts. I hope I'm wrong. There you go.
There you go, your 1-each predictions, a new 5-0 Edward. How the days have changed. But Andy, what's your sort of predicted lineup and what was your score prediction?
I wouldn't imagine the lineup's going to change too much. If it's a mirroring game, I think Scales will start again. The guy haunts me, to be honest, at this stage, but I think he'll start again. I would maybe the only one that might change is maybe Yang. Take him out for Forest to start or something. I'm not buying the whole Nigerian playing out wide thing. I don't think it will happen. But I'll go for Forest. Take him in, start the game ahead of Yang, and I'll be positive again. I'll say a 3-0 win for Celtic. And Needle open his account for the season. There we go. He's positive.
And Danny, what about you? Would you be making many changes? I think I seen you tweet last week that McCowan shouldn't be out the team until we sign a better playmaker. Would you be sticking with that?
Aye, and I would agree with you and completely disregard what Andy just said. I would play Nygren outright. He doesn't need to play as a winger. He can fuck about out there if he wants, but I would have him out on the right and Maeda on the left with Ida through the middle. I'd bring Pusey in straight away. I wouldn't even... Rodgers shouldn't even fucking have to tell them that. He shouldn't even have to tell them he should be in the team. I was really impressed with McCowan last week when he came on, and I'm expecting a big season at him. So I would play him. That would be my two changes. I think we'll win comfortably. I think we'll win 3 or 4-0 actually. I'm famous last words, but I'm not really that bored. I thought Aberdeen played well the other night. I don't think they'll have many problems. There's plenty kind of fit athletes about their team, but they had fuck all up front. And even that boy in the right wing who did have a good game, he looked dangerous, but he never actually created it. And we've got a better defence than Hearts, barring the left-sided centre half. And I don't know, they might be different at home. They'll probably come out as a big occasion for them. There'll be no doubt umpteen fucking references to the cup final. They'll probably cheer every time Cal McGregor gets the ball or something, I don't know. And I just think we'll shut them up relatively early, because I think that feeling's probably going to be one of the first managers sacked this season, if it's going to be him or Presley. And I don't know. I think if he didn't win the cup final, I think he'd probably be at the job a lot sooner. I think the cup final might give him a bit of grace until maybe later in the season, but I don't know. Aberdeen just don't inspire me. They look like a kind of middle of the road decent team. I think they will finish top 6, but I don't think they'll trouble us on Sunday. I just think it's a good time to go up and play them, because I think they're push. Basically try and get points on the board. What did I say? 3? I'll say 3-0, and I think Ida will get 2, and I think Nygren will get the other.
Aye, I'm with you, Danny. I agree. I think Phelan might be out of a job by November time. I don't think our good Celtic hero Stephen Presley will, especially after he gets a good result in Glasgow on Saturday evening. But no, I think we'll be comfortable in that. You brought up a point I was going to bring up as well. I know I've predicted a strong win. I'll go 4-0 as well, but I think it's a real personality test of the team as well, because I think you're right. I think every sort of the banner they have and song they sing will be in relation to that cup final in May, and it's up to us. And look, we all seen how hurt Cal McGregor was after that game, and it's a real chance for us to look, as I say, I think there's a bump in the road coming, and it's a case of when it happens rather than if. But if this team is going to stand up to it and continue to go for 5 in a row, then this is the sort of game they can just put a performance down. And look, they could be waiting another 30 year for a Scottish Cup, so if we go there and put the boot down and go 3 or 4 up relatively early and just put on a show, it sort of just nips that in the bud, and you're no questioning the team's personality, which for so long was the sort of hallmark, especially Rodgers' teams in his first spell, and Ange's teams, where they stood up to every test. And I think there's going to be a lot more tests this season, and I think we'll see Aberdeen off. As I say, I'm not impressed with them. I don't think there's a lot about them, and I think even in the state we are now, I'd expect us to win relatively comfortable, so I'll go 4-0. So, that's 3 predicted wins, and Tony's went for a draw. Hopefully, a majority is right on this one. We'll be back discussing that game early next week, and we'll also look towards that cup game. Obviously, we had a entertaining cup game with Falkirk last season at this stage, so it'd be interesting to preview that one and what we're expecting. Obviously, Falkirk now a Premier League team, and Celtic looking to start their defence of the League Cup. So search for us on wherever you get your social media, 4 times a podcast, or if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, leaves a wee comment with your predictions on. If anybody gets it spot on for the weekend, we'll give you a wee shout out next week. But I will speak to you then, and enjoy your weekend. Tail hill.